Good morning. Welcome to the Heritage Foundation and our Lewis Lehrman Auditorium. We, of course, welcome those who join us on our heritage.org website on all of these occasions, and would ask everyone here in-house if you'll make that last courtesy check about cell phones. It's always appreciated that they are turned off. And, of course, we will post the program on the Heritage homepage for everyone's future reference. And our internet viewers are always welcome to send questions or comments simply emailing us at speaker@heritage.org. Hosting our program this morning is Dr. James J. Carafano. He is our Vice President in the Catherine and Shelby Cullum Davis Institute for National Security and Foreign Policy Studies, and he also serves as the E.W. Richardson Fellow. He's a graduate of West Point and 25-year veteran of the Army. He is a senior fellow at the George Washington University's Homeland Security Policy Institute, on the Board of Trustees of the Marine Corps University Foundation, and advisory boards for the West Point Center for Oral History, the Hamilton Society, and Operation Renewed Hope Foundation. He is also an adjunct professor at Georgetown University and the Institute of World Politics, as well as serving as a visiting professor at the National Defense University. Please join me in welcoming Jim Carafano. Jim?
Did we apologize for the construction already, John?
Not yet, but we're mining for
Right, we're working on that. So it's not an editorial comment at all, but hopefully it'll stop pretty soon, and if not, it shouldn't go on very long. So we apologize for the distraction. I want to thank everybody for coming. This is really just an exciting historic moment for us. I'm not going to go into the recent history since the birth of the Arab Spring of Tunisia, because it's a fascinating history and an important, I think, life lesson in the future of freedom in the face of adversity. I'll let the ambassador do that. I just, as an introduction, I just wanted to say two things and then introduce the ambassador. First of all, I'm incredibly honored to be here as the Vice President in charge of foreign policy. There are a few things I'm prouder of than the work that our analysts have done in engaging with the Tunisian people. This is an important country of people that deserve a great future, and if our folks can play a small role in helping that dialogue move forward, I think that's an extraordinary achievement. I'm proud of them. I'm honored in the great relationships that we have and the discussions that we've had, because I think this is what think tanks are really all about. It's helping people realize their dreams, and I think the work that our folks have done is really exceptional, and the other thing is to having the ambassador come here after the election and talk about this is just indeed a tremendous and great honor. So I'm excited to do this, and I'm more excited about the future of not just Tunisia but of our ability to really follow and engage in these events. So. I am really pleased and honored to have His Excellency the Ambassador of the Republic of Tunisia to the United States. Ambassador Chalefa has served in his current capacity since December 2013, and that's right. It's five. You've served 5 presidents now, right? So he's obviously really good at this. He's previously served as a Deputy Director for European Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Tunisia. Shortly after, he became the Deputy Director of American Affairs. In 2000, he served as the Deputy Chief of Mission at the Tunisian Embassy in Washington, D.C., and he's held positions as the General Director of American and Asian Affairs, the Director Supervisor of the Tunisian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador, also served as Tunisia's Ambassador to Australia, Spain, South Africa, Mozambique, Namibia, Angola, and Mauritius. Ambassador Chalefa will update us on the results of the parliamentary election and share his views on this critical juncture in Tunisia's transition to the future. And he has agreed to do a question and answer when he's done. So we'll have a time for that. We'll break promptly at noon. But if when he's done, if you do have a question, if you just raise your hand and kind of wait to be recognized, and then I believe we'll have a microphone. So that way we can get the questions, that people listening online can hear the questions. And if you'd wait for the microphone and just kind of state your name and affiliation, that'd be great. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming the ambassador.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me today. I'm truly delighted and pleased to take part in this Tunisian event, and I would like sincerely to thank Heritage Foundation for its friendship and interest toward my country, Tunisia. Despite the fact that the election now has been achieved, Tunisia has certainly achieved a new landmark success with Sunday's legislative election, finalizing 3 years of difficult and painful democratic transition and opening the door for a new step of democratic consolidation. First, the election took place peacefully, without a security incident, which is a considerable achievement. Second, at almost 65%, voter turnout has been satisfactory in the context of generalized political fatigue after 3 years of daily heated debate and mobilization for conflicting agendas. Third, according to national and international observers, the elections were free, fair, and transparent, despite, of course, some deficiencies and minor irregularities. Fourth, the results, as outlined by exit polls and the final outcomes, this result has been accepted by all the political parties. Fifth, these elections have involved a peaceful changeover of power. This is the most important feature that heralds a democratic culture breaking with one-party rule heritage and dissipating fears expressed by some observers. The elections themselves have been driven by a twofold behavioral tactics. The electoral resorted to both tactical voting and protest voting, what we call in French le vote utile et le vote sanction. A part of the electorate seems to have decided to vote for an option they perceived as having greater chance of winning over an option they might prefer, in order to prevent an undesirable outcome. This behavior might partly explain the remarkable gains made by Nidaa Tounes, as well as the poor performance of secular smaller parties. A part of the electorate too seems to have opted for protest voting to sanction the incumbent majority coalition led by Ennahda on its security and economic record. This behavior might explain the shrinking of Ennahda support, as well as the poor performance of its coalition partners. Some of them have been decimated. The result might seem to perpetuate polarization along ideological, secular, religion demarcation. I will argue, however, that the accumulated pragmatism of the leading major parties as demonstrated by their platforms and discourse during the electoral campaign will relegate the doctrinal differentiation to the periphery of the political debate. Furthermore, the political process since the revolution has demonstrated to all that playing on ideological polarization is not rewarding. Dialogue and consensus building have proven their merit in national interest terms as well as in partisan perspectives. This is not to deny, however, that the new legislative body will function smoothly. No party holds the necessary majority to form a government. Coalitions are inevitable. Three options are offered. The first option is a national unity government involving the two leading parties and possibly other minor parties. Ennahda party has called for this option well before the election, and Nidaa Tounes didn't unequivocally reject it. Such a coalition can guarantee some badly needed stability and reinforce the culture of consensus buildings. It might, however, anger large segments of Nidaa supporters in particular, and by relying on consensus-based politics can hinder efficacy and avoid radical reforms or critical decision. The second option is a technocratic government. This option might be tempting for Nidaa Tounes, particularly if it materializes through the existing national dialogue. The merit of such an option is to undertake needed unpopular reforms and take painful measures without assuming the political risk. It is, however, a difficult option to sell both to Nidaa Party supporters and to major political actors. Third option is a coalition government led by Nidaa Tounes and involving political allies from the so-called modernist family. The merit of such an option resides particularly in the reinforcement of the concept of political change and political responsibility. It also resides in the potential capacity to act on unified and coherent platform and take the necessary decision. However, this path is fraught with difficulties. First, some potential partners, particularly the leftist Popular Front, would most probably demand in return a radical leftist agenda, and Nidaa Tounes or AFAQ, the other potential partners, might be difficult to accept it. Second, this path would rekindle the flame of polarization and expose the coalition to bitter conflicts with opposition parties and social actors. Furthermore, this option will offer a very short majority to Nidaa Tounes and its close allies, and could be not enough to carry out bold and unpopular reforms. Whatever option the political process will lead to, the challenges facing the new government are paramount and diverse. We are confronted with a real terrorist threat. Despite their numerical minority and marginality, extremists and terrorist elements and networks remain dangerous and lethal. The post-revolution fragility of the security apparatus, shaken by the urgency of radical reforms and burdened by an oppressive legacy, the limited resources of the armed forces, the proliferation of weapons and militias in the region have complicated the challenge of confronting terrorist and extremist views. Now, our security forces as recovering and are moving against terrorism with a new determination. They have achieved major successes, relying on the unanimous rejection by the population of terrorism and extremism. But this is a long-term battle, and that needs more efforts and resources. On the economic front, job opportunities have to be created for young people who represent a large basis in the demographic pyramid and who embody the future we are shaping. University students in particular are putting a lot of pressure on the employment market. This is a major challenge for which various programs are being devised and for which we need support. Equally important is the need for a balanced and fair economic development that yields benefits to all regions and all the communities. Painful economic reforms are needed. Most crucial of them, an overhaul of public finances, including in particular the rationalization of food and energy subsidies and public spending. Action in all these areas is necessary and very urgent. Solutions have to be found to offer new horizon of hope for young people in particular. Failure to meet expectation could result in disillusionment with democracy itself and bring the risk of instability and extremism. We are aware that we have to rely on our own potential, on our own vision and determination to devise and implement the right policies in order to achieve tangible outcomes. Yet, international support, as in many other transitional experiences, particularly in Eastern Europe after the collapse of communism, could be instrumental in ensuring success. So far, the international community's support to Tunisia has consisted of a plethora of minor initiatives offering disparate, poorly resourced, and sometimes symbolic acts of goodwill. Tunisia is not seeking a Marshall Plan. It rather aspires for substantial coordinated programs with adequate resources that make a difference for its people, support the process of reform and democratization, help alleviate sources of tension, and lay the ground for a stable economic and social environment conducive to democratic values and democratic practices. For the United States, the success of the democratic processes in Tunisia has historical and strategic value. It offers a unique opportunity for the United States to have, for the first time, a truly democratic partner in the Arab world. Tunisia is committed to a durable partnership with the United States. In concrete terms, I think that some areas deserve particular attention. Critical budget support. In 2012, the United States provided $100 million to pay directly debt that Tunisia owed the World Bank and the African Development Bank allowing the government of Tunisia to instead use an equal amount for its priority programs and to accelerate economic growth and job creation. A new 3-year cash transfer program would be a great support to Tunisia and will serve as a potent signal that the United States is rewarding commitment to democracy. Sovereign loan guarantee. Since the revolution, the United States offered twice sovereign loan guarantees. A new loan guarantee program for the next year could be of a great help. Military and security support that reinforces and readapts Tunisia's capacity to confront terrorist security challenges and to help Tunisia to reach a minimum deterrent capabilities against terrorism. Non-essential staff return to the embassy in Tunis, to the US Embassy in Tunis. With the reinforcement of relation and the launching of new programs, restriction on embassy staff in Tunis will not help implementation and follow-up of some projects. Beyond these urgencies, we need to elaborate together a new vision for a long-term strategic partnership and shape a new Tunisian partnership that is value-driven, program-based, and result-oriented. In this perspective, the following ideas could be considered. Elaborate a 5-year country development cooperation strategy designed to support Tunisia's development and reform efforts in key sectors. Tunisia needs longer-term, coordinated and focused program with adequate resources and with a high level of synergy between the programs that make a difference and support the process of economic reform and democratization. Second, we can propose the starting the negotiation on free trade agreements that bonds further the two countries' interests and signals the United States' support to emerging democracy in the region. With a negligible cost on the US economy, a free trade area will achieve a mutually beneficial momentum, will generate fresh opportunities for our respective countries and business communities, and will send a potent message to business circles and all over the world. It will further support the reform momentum in Tunisia to shift the country to a stronger, sustainable, and job-rich growth path, and to favor bold measures aiming and reinforcing the government effectiveness, ensuring regularity, quality, protecting business from government infringement on property rights, providing peaceful and predictable means to resolve disputes and control corruption. Obviously, progress toward a free trade agreement is a time-consuming and an interagency process. It requires very specific building blocks to be determined by the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, which shall serve to lay the foundation for future FTA. Pending the conclusion of free trade agreements, a provisional trade arrangement offering privileged access to Tunisian products would be of a great support. Including Tunisia, for example, in the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, could offer tangible incentives for Tunisia to continue its macroeconomic reforms, open its economy, build a vibrant free market, and prepare the Tunisian economy for a free trade agreement with the US. We can propose also to establish a new paradigm for military and security cooperation. The wide array of local and regional security and terrorist issues require increasing twofold the United States military and security support programs, particularly FMF. Such an increase shall serve to finance a long-term comprehensive program with a broader regional perspective that incorporates strategy, personnel, and procurement, and that aims at gradually adjusting our national security policy and capacity to new terrorist threats, with the ultimate goal of making of Tunisia a regional deterrent against terrorism. And finally, the Millennium Challenge Corporation. We need, and we think that we can explore new ideas to allow Tunisia to benefit from MCC compact programs, including a readjustment of eligibility criteria to take into consideration regional development disparities in Tunisia. Many of Tunisia's inland regions, if considered separately, have an income per capita well below the lower middle income category and close to the low income category. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
We have a microphone in the back. If you have a question, you raise your hand. I'm going to ask Jim Phillips, who's our Middle East analyst, if he would ask the first question. So that'd be great. So you don't have to introduce yourself, but just
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's no secret that Tunisia has had some border security problems for terrorist infiltration from Algeria or Libya. Could you assess the status of the border and your cooperation with the neighboring states?
We do have, I think, a very strong cooperation with Algeria now on the ground, and I think we have achieved some successes in stopping the infiltration of terrorists from Algeria today. But we do have some difficulties with the Libyan borders because there is no strong Libyan government to deal with. But we are making many efforts in order to secure this Libyan border.
I think maybe you'll stay with the microphones. Yes, sir. We have two questions. So here and then we'll go there.
Frank Ennahda, retired State Department, now teaching at my alma mater, Cedarville University in Ohio. I was wondering if you could expand a bit more on the potential advantages for Tunisia if they were incorporated into the AGOA, as you suggested.
Yes. AGOA could be the first step before a free trade agreement with Tunisia, and it can offer to Tunisia more market access for its product in United States. But I think that Tunisia aspires to a free trade agreement, but meanwhile we can have this instrument, this important instrument.
Question down here and there.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Howard Marks with Energetics, consultant to the U.S. Department of Energy. I was wondering, in regard to energy sources, your energy portfolio within the country, what plans do you have to expand, say, solar energy or wind or renewables to reduce any imports? What's the situation and what are your plans? Thank you.
The situation is that our oil energy is decreasing, and there are many big projects with Europe on renewable energy, but unfortunately with the revolution and this difficult political transition, projects has not been realized, but I think we have big solar projects with Europeans, and I think the new government will take into consideration. It will be a priority for the new government.
Munji Dawadi from the Center for the Study of Islam and Democracy. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for this great analysis and this look forward to what will happen and what should happen maybe in Tunisia's future. Looking in the near future, which is the presidential election that's coming up, now that we know the official results that Nidaa Tounes is the leading party within the parliamentary elections, what are your maybe read into the results into the presidential elections, and what would be the implications of that if Nidaa Tounes again, or the candidate from Nidaa Tounes, would win the presidential election, especially when we heard yesterday some of the parties, including Ennahda, signaling that they are a little concerned about the dominance, but if Nidaa Tounes is going to be dominating both the parliament and the presidential palace, would that pose an issue for the democratic transition?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I know there is some concern now about the return of the old regime and the strong leadership in Tunisia. In my view, and neutral view, post-election government in Tunisia will be completely different from the old regime governance, because Tunisia has completely changed since the revolutions. We have democracy, new constitutions, we have civil society becoming watchdog for democracy, and whatever party comes to power, he has to deal with a vigilant opposition and strong democratic institutions. I think dictatorship is over, Tunisia, completely over.
Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for coming in for your analysis. I hope you will forgive a very basic question, since I am not an expert on Tunisia. My name, by the way, is Ed Lynch. I'm a professor at Holmes University in Roanoke. Can you spoke about your hopes and your country's hopes for a free trade agreement with the United States. I wonder if you could summarize the attitude of the major parties in Tunisia towards such a development, and their general attitude towards property rights, a necessary precondition for foreign investment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now, I think that now all the political actors in Tunisia agree on the necessity to adopt bold reforms in all the sectors that you see. And we are hoping to have a free trade agreement with the United States because we have expertise in free trade agreement, and we have experience. Tunisia has been the first country realizing a free trade agreement with Europe. in 1995. And since then, the trade with Europe have been highly increased, and the investments too have been increased. Then I think Tunisia is ready to have a free trade agreement with the United States and other countries like Bahrain, Morocco have this free trade agreement. And I think the Tunisian economy, which is a diverse economy, can now face a free trade agreement with the United States. And for the United States, considering the Tunisian small economy, it won't be a big problem for the United States to have this free trade agreement. And we consider that the announcement effect of this free trade agreement will be very beneficial for Tunisia. And we think that in order now to increase our trade with the United States and to increase our investments, we need a framework. And this framework could be free trade agreement.
So we have two questions over here, Charlotte, and then you, sir, and then you go to the back.
Thank you, Ambassador. Charlotte Florence, sorry, with the Heritage Foundation. I work in our foreign policy department. I think it's interesting when we're talking about, I guess, Nidaa Tounes winning the largest number of seats, and the kind of looking at the breakdown of the party itself and just the diversity of opinions and individuals, you have business leaders, union leaders. Do you think that's an asset for the party going forward governing, or is there going to be additional infighting? Is this process still, in a transition phase?
Excuse me, the process of which process?
So for Nidaa, depending on, I think you laid out several options for forming a government.
Yeah.
But does there still need to be, particularly with economic reforms, is there still some conversations within the party that need to occur before Tunisians start to see, differences on the ground?
To be frank with you, I think the big majority of the Tunisian parties are in favor of reforms, necessary reforms. But we have some, of course, the left party, the leftist party, which is what we call الجبهة الشعبية. They focus mainly on the immediate needs, immediate social needs. But I think we can find a solution between them, because now I think whatever the party comes to power, he has to balance between the immediate social needs of the populations and the necessary long-term reforms. That is the equation of the power now in Tunisia.
Thank you, sir. I'm John Schwenk. I'm with BAE Systems. And I was particularly interested in your comments on support for the defense and security sector in Tunisia. I think my own impression is that a lot in the USG would sort of agree that it is important for the United States to be supporting Tunisia in its efforts to bolster its security. And notwithstanding your request to sort of double the foreign military financing, I would just ask if you could elaborate a little bit on your assessment of the current pace and development of security cooperation efforts between the United States and Tunisia.
Yes, I have to thank the United States for their support and security and military support. It's very important support, but it's still not enough regarding the big challenges of Tunisia now. As you may know, we have a very professional army, but lacking a lot of resources and means. And we think that increasing FMF will be needed, because Tunisia receive very modest support from United States. We've had, I think, around $60 million this year for FMF and economic and all other small economic programs. And we would like to have a big picture and a new plan with more synergy and more resources.
Anthony Kim with the Heritage Foundation. Thank you again, Ambassador, for your remarks, and truly welcome back to the Heritage Foundation. In terms of gathering support, you talked about international support, but I was thinking about some kind of regional support. As long as I understand, there will be an election for the next president of the African Development Bank in 2015.
Yeah.
Is Tunisia considering any candidacy for the AFDB, African Development Bank?
Yes, absolutely.
And also, my second question, if I may, as you know, in less than 5 days now, we'll have an election here in the United States. When you have a new Congress in front of you, among those 5 things that you suggested, United States may consider helping Tunisia, which one would you put on the top list? You mentioned about AGOA, FTA, and loan guarantees. We understand they're all interrelated, but if you name just one item, what would that be? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, Tunisia, of course, has a strong candidate for Arab Bank, African Development Bank. It's Mr. Jalloul Ayad. He was a former finance minister, a very capable one, and with a close relation with the United States. His spouse is American, and and we are supporting its candidacy. For the priority of Tunisia, I think if we can say, we have 3 priorities now with the United States. Budget support, it's very important because we will need it. Just budget support for this year in order to budget support, free trade agreement, and bold security military cooperation.
So before I ask everyone to join with me in thanking for your remarks, I want to ask the last question, and it may be a bit simplistic, but I do think it's very important.
Yeah.
Which is, to the American people, could you explain to them why they should care about the people of Tunisia and their future? Why is it important to Americans?
Yes, of course, because as I said, now United States has the historic opportunity to have, for the first time now, a truly democratic partner in the Arab world, and I think Tunisia can inspire now the Arab world for democracy, and the achievements of Tunisia reach the American values of democracy and freedom.
Well, thank you so much, and please join with me in thanking the ambassador for speaking.
Thank you very much.